So our next Patreon request comes from Mount Vernon Kid, my good friend Chris. Thank you once again for the Patreon request and continued shipment of comics that I've been reviewing. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon where you guys can hit the 3rd tier. That'll allow you access to do so. So, let's get started with the video. And as you can see from the title, my 8 favorite cat-themed superheroes, which was kind of, it got easier as I thought more about it. Because I was like, 8 cat-themed superheroes, I just need to throw a stick and I can find one. I can just, throw a rock and pick one. I just realized that, but yeah. So, 8 favorite cat-themed superheroes. Now, at first, I was like, oh man, how am I going to find 8 themed cat superheroes? And then I thought, oh wait, themed, not cat people. But there are some cat people here. Also, side note, Cat People is a really good movie. I'm not talking about the 80s remake. I'm talking about the original Val Lewton 1940s one. It basically created, it was the progenitor to every jump scare, for better or for worse, in cinema. I highly recommend it to go check out Cat People if you can. Anyway. Man, this coffee's really starting to hit me. Anyway. So let's get... so there's no rank to this. It's just 8 favorites. So it's not like top 8 or anything like that. I just want to clarify. So let's get started with the video. So our first one I wanted to talk about is Tigra. Tigra was the original cat person. She came after Catwoman, but when you think cat people superheroes, you normally think Tigra. Now admittedly Tigra was never a character I liked, because I was like, oh, there she is. And also she was just meant to be the sexy cat girl, because I'm sure the Marvel writers had fetishes. But she's grown as a character, from being almost like a joke, to now being a way more complex. I think the thing that really changed it was after she was brought in for the Avengers Initiative and had a relationship with Hank Pym, but then it turned out that wasn't Hank Pym, that was a Skrull, and she had a son with him, and she became this. Now, granted, there were some cool things they did, but the problem was they didn't really give. And admittedly, I swear I'm going with this with somewhere. All they did up to that point was play into Tigra's a joke. And then after Initiative, where she had her son, it changed. Because, yeah, it became like I was sexually assaulted by a Skrull, by a man who has the most complicated history in Marvel Comics. And she became a mother, a more serious character, a more tactical character. People were actually using her in to talk about sexual assault and motherhood of that. Now I've seen several people talk about Tigra and this new era for her, and basically talk about being a mother after an event like that. So I think the message of Tigra is amazing, and also Jed MacKay knocks it out of the park with bringing Tigra back, and now having her as Mark Spector's new girlfriend, which they did. Now I know some people are like, well, that feels a little furry-ish, and you'd be right, but but back in West Coast Avengers, that was teased. That was always a thing. Mark and Tigra did have a stint as a couple back in West Coast Avengers, and I think Jed MacKay looked at that and went, I'm bringing that back. You can't stop me. I'm Jed motherfucking MacKay. I'm writing 10 titles for Marvel. You can't fucking stop me. But yeah, so Tigra, I've the design. It's a Catwoman, and I've always liked tigers. But she always felt just kind of there to be eye candy for furries. But now she's grown into something else. So that's why I wanted Tigra on this list. Now let's talk about another cat-themed superhero. Now I could list all of the Thundercats, but I didn't want to make this all about the Thundercats. So obviously, I just had to pick one. And the one I picked, and the one I've always thought was my favorite, was Tigra. I know I just talked about Tigra, not Marvel Tigra. I'm talking Tigra from Thundercats. And it just dawned on me, I was like, they have the same fucking name, just spelled different. Fuck! So, Tigra, not that one, was in the original 80s cartoon, was a great addition to the team. He was the stoic second in command. He was a tactical leader. He also, knew when to guide Lion-O. And I think he definitely, in the remake, definitely had, even though that whole thing with Cheetara and Lion-O, and the three-way coupling they were trying to do, I feel like that fell flat. But thank God there was a definitive answer, even though it just felt really unnecessary, the whole thing. But Tigra's story in the 2011 reboot series was amazing. He was actually Lion-O's adopted brother, and he was actually had this great heritage behind him, and I love that about him. It's again, we play into the whole thing of he is the stoic foil for Lion-O's playfulness, and knows when to be like, hey, Lion-O, nut up or shut up, dude. So Tigra, not that one, was another pick I knew I was going to have on this list. Next up, so now we got 6 more to go, so strap in. Next up on our list is El Tigre. So not a cat person per se, we're going to have a cat-themed superhero. El Tigre, I know, also is I guess, anti-hero. He walks this line of hero and villainy, and I think that's what I think a lot of people liked about that character, was that Manny was this superhero who could walk this tightrope of hero and villain whenever it suited him. And I know, and I can't be the only one, even when I was younger and watching El Tigre, I was watching, why don't you just be an anti-hero so you can do both? But I guess, in that world, you had to be either or. But, I think that just added to the humor, too. So, there you go. El Tigre. Next up for male cat-themed superheroes, Cat Noir. So, Cat Noir. Boy, oh boy. Cat Noir is a great character. He's funny, he can be suave, he can be charming, but at the same time, someone give this child a hug. That poor Adrian, that poor boy is the whole world broke him, and Ladybug broke him mentally by killing his dad. So, yeah, and he wasn't even there. I feel like even the writers forget that this show is called Ladybug and Cat Noir. So, I always dug him for this for that witty charm, and I think it's kind of cool that he literally could just one-punch man or one-touch death you if given the option. And the costume's pretty the costume is pretty solid too. I mean, it is cat themed, but they actually there's, for what I've learned, especially from DC Comics, is that you can you can fuck up a cat themed costume really easily. So they kind of nailed it right out the park with Cat Noir. And speaking of DC Comics, let's talk about Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. Now I know what you're thinking. Catwoman's not a hero. Anti-hero, it counts. And I think even DC's yeah, anti-hero, it counts. So, Catwoman, like I said, they can never get the costume right. It's the only one that really has worked is the Darwin Cook suit. And maybe the Jeff Loeb costume and the Golden Age Catwoman. They can't, no one can settle on a good Catwoman costume, especially Jeff Johns in Batman Earth 1. But outside of that, Selina Kyle is one of the most fascinating characters in Batman's life, as both his lover, his rival, his everything. Selina Kyle is also intelligent, she's quick-witted, she's also quick with the whip, and she has always been one of the most steadfast members in both the Batman family and Rogues Gallery. She has enough respect to have both members of the Bat family and members of the Rogues Gallery listen to her. So if I don't know, I don't know about you, but I think that gives her a lot of leeway in this list. And staying in the DC universe, let's talk about from Catwoman to Catman. No, not the Adam West character from Fairly Odd Parents. I'm talking Thomas Blake. And I know what you're gonna say. Oh, but that's a villain, Multi. You can't pick him. He's an anti-hero. Doesn't count. Dude literally went from a fat, disgusting joke of a character, and then Gail Simone went, I can fix him. And fix him she did. Unlike every other woman who had that thought, or man who had that thought about looking at a woman man or woman who just got out of prison and is now just covered in leather. I'm not talking about personal experience, mind you. But yeah, Gail Simone made Thomas Blake into one of the most complex characters who walked this line of hero and villain in Secret Six. He was basically the Kraven the Hunter in a orange and green suit, or orange and yellow suit. The dude could even take on Batman in a hand-to-hand fight and fight him to a draw, or even Bruce is like, he almost got the drop on me. But Catman has become like this complex character who knows what's right and wrong, and he knows he's a wrong person, but all he wants to do is do right by his son he had with Cheshire, do right by his team, and do right by the rest of the world that he fucked up in that way. So I know it's a little bit of cheating, but I was like, when you think cat-themed characters, I wanted Thomas Blake in this list. So let's close this out with going back to Marvel. Next up, Black Cat. So Felicia Hardy, again, walks that line of hero and villain, and she definitely is, again, one of those characters who has leeway with both the Marvel villains and the Marvel heroes. Obviously, a Flame and close friend to Peter Parker, and has been at his side at the in every form of ups and downs. But has stayed true to his side no matter how many times they try to make her a villain. Like, I've learned that, like, the last time during Superior Spider-Man, when they tried to make Felicia Hardy like this crime boss villain, and nobody liked that. Like, even the writers said, we hated that. Like, we will legit hated that era. So I'm glad, like, especially going back to Jed McKay, they give her, like, still being, like, having villainous intentions, but she's not evil. Like, she's not, like, trying to be this overarching, like, complete villain monster that they were trying to go for in the post-Superior Spider-Man run. So thank God they got rid of that. But yeah. And finally, for our final pick in terms of cat-themed characters, did you really think I was going to leave him out? Right? Did you really think I was going to leave this character out in this video? The answer's fucking no. T'Challa, the Black motherfucking Panther. Did you really think I was gonna do this whole video and not talk about Black Panther? No, when it comes to cat-themed superheroes, he sits atop the mountain of cat-themed superheroes, looking down at them from his throne, made of vibranium, and looking at the rest of them like fucking peasants, and as they should be. Black Panther, leader of the Avengers at points, one of the most dangerous men on the planet, and someone that even, like, gods have said, I don't want to fuck with him. Yeah, you come to Wakanda, you fucking die. That's what's gonna happen to you. So, yeah, what more can I say about the king of the real king of Wakanda? I don't care what, like, Marvel's doing right now, trying to make him Batman. But we all know he's going to go back. This isn't the first time he's lost his kingdom, so it's only a matter of time before he goes back to being king of Wakanda, as he should. So yeah, there you go, guys. Those are my 8 favorite cat-themed heroes. You guys tell me in the comments below, what are your 8 favorite cat-themed superheroes? Just comment below, let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank Chris for this Patreon request and continued patronage. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.